welcome back. Pete and I are here. It's the Watch Journey podcast. We think that we're in season 2. We're not entirely sure. It might be season 2, episode 2.
Season 8,
Season 8.
4.
Pete thinks we're on season 12, episode 16. We will publish this on the podcast app. And today we're talking about something that I know has been on a lot of your minds. It's on our mind regularly. It's about engraved watches. Whether we want to engrave watches, whether we should engrave watches, whether it's cool to engrave watches, what watches you can engrave and you can't engrave. We've got a few stories to share with you, and we'd love your thoughts below. I've also brought a box of goodies.
Always. I mean,
I've got a box of goodies. Now, the cool thing is, when you're in the watch world and you pretend that you can write, you get sent watches like I do. And these are a few watches that are on my table, and one or two that I bought. So we'll come to that at the end. But first off, Pete, it's been a while.
I just think like you're the newfound. Do you know the old stories of, do you want to buy a watch?
Yeah.
Jacket.
Yeah.
I mean, you are just that guy. I mean, you constantly have a suitcase.
Have you seen the fella that wears the watch jacket? There's a German fella who's in the media, the German media, who rocks up to watch shows wearing a full jacket of watches.
I don't get invited to these things, so as in I don't know that.
You'll see him when we go to Dubai Watch Week at some point.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But he wears. And
have you ever thought of that?
And I've
stitching them.
Honestly, I do have the opportunity to present watches. Like the funny times, I go to the gym, and a few people in the gym know that I like watches, and they've sometimes got questions about watches, and I will often have watches pulled out of pockets during session. Mid-session, I'll whip this out, like this one, this Octa Finissimo recently, my coach, Jamie. Yeah. I know you'd like it, and I was like, shit, Jamie, we're about to start the workout, but have a quick look at this, and I whipped it out, and anyway, yes, there's the answer. I have thought about that, but I haven't got a jacket yet with them built in.
Because it's quite funny you say that, actually, because I was doing a football game up at Leicester City, and I was wearing my Elegant, and it's actually it's the first time I've been stopped. Press room, someone went, "Excuse me, mate, is that an Elegant?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it is."
And they also said, "You're Pete Odgers from the Watch Journey podcast."
They didn't.
Not yet.
Not yet. They were like, "Do you know Justin?" No. But no, they And then just so happened, I also had my other FP joint. I don't know why it was in my bag. For some reason, I had both. I don't know why. But he was then like, "Oh, can I have a look?" Really and then he sat down and started chatting about watches. He actually owned an MB&F, which was so he really knew his stuff. I was a bit disappointed he didn't listen to us because he was into his indies. So anyway,
MB&F,
I then was like,
legacy machine.
It was a legacy machine. Wow. It was the blue steel. Didn't have it on, but as in he knew his.
As a side note, you may or may not know that MB&F are at Watches of Switzerland. Mm-hmm. They've got a store, 155 Regent Street. I went in there last week. They've got a steel available for sale.
Wow.
Legacy
machine. Blue.
Steel legacy machine. Yes, blue. Electric blue dial. For less than the secondary price. Now, it was in the door. It was in the window. What? It was in the window. I tried it on. And I'm doing a talk there tonight, funny enough, so I'm going to have another look at it. And wait for it. Mm-hmm. So it's less. I think A Collected Man have one up for the moment. Now, correct me if I may be wrong, and when this airs, it may well be sold, but for around 65-ish, and I think this is about 50 to 55-ish retail. Okay. You can also put down a deposit. Now, we're not in the business of talking about financing here. We are not investment
not
specialists.
Not going down that thing again. Yeah.
Nothing you hear in this podcast is an investment advice. Your investment may go up or down. But you can put a deposit down of a couple of grand. I think maybe 5% or 10%. Yeah. And you can then take 3 years, 0% at the moment on that.
Wow.
I think.
So a story on that as well, because I'm on the list for the blue steel MB&F. Yeah,
clearly they've missed
and
you.
It's been
they've been making calls. You've missed the call.
I've missed the call, obviously. Yeah. I mean, I don't have the money for it, so I'm quite glad I keep missing the call. But as in, I was chatting to the guys at MB&F, and they were saying that is the one that they have just backlogged. Like it's like years and years.
Do you know what I'm going to go
and that's the one that takes forever. Because I thought about being put down for the sportier model that was a far higher price, the ice blue.
It's rubber strap.
And he said, actually, I could probably get you that in 6 months, 5 to 6 months. If you really wanted it, I can get that. But he said the blue legacy machine steel, it's years. Wow. And I've been on it, I think now for maybe 2-3 years.
Jeez, so that is.
Yeah. Okay. So the fact that sat there.
Okay.
So Let's go before you release this episode, go get it, Justin.
Yeah, well, I'm there tonight. As I say, I'm there tonight doing a talk at IWC. People, it's been your birthday since we last saw each other. It's been your big 40th birthday. I got a call from your wife. It was late Friday night. I thought it was a booty call. No, it wasn't a booty call. She was asking for help. She was asking for help about sourcing a watch for you. And viewers who saw the episode many episodes ago about the watch you bought for her on your wedding day was a Reverso. You had a wonderful engraving on the back, which was very personal to her. And she started discussing the budget. We started discussing models, and we landed on the fact that it would possibly be quite nice to get you also a Reverso. We found a Reverso at our friends at Watches of Knightsbridge, Toby Sutton. Thank you, sir. Wonderful model. Now, we have to confess, and we only found this out just before we started recording. I didn't realise that the watch on your wrist, give us a flash there, but people will see it.
There we go.
People will see it from a distance there. Yeah. Lovely size on you, by the way.
Yeah.
Lovely
and
size.
It's the strap. I'm so skinny. Every time with the strap, so the strap's slightly too big.
Interesting.
But I actually quite like the way it's sort of. I don't know. There's something like an antiquated. Like a gentleman, as in with a nice jacket. Not I'm dressed like I'm in my pajamas, but as in a guy with a nice shirt on. Yep. That Art Deco feel of
old money.
Yeah. And I don't know. Since I've been wearing it, I've been looking at it. It just feels. It just gives you that sense. Inner feeling of. Yeah, there's that musky old money, which actually we'll get to it in a minute. But Ali's dad was old money, as in always dressed really smart, always had a shirt and tie on.
Did he wear a Reverso?
He didn't, no. But I could see him wearing a Reverso. And when you think of old money, those are the sort of. And I thought he had brilliant fashion. Always, sadly passed away, but I've always the pictures and the videos I've seen of him always look so dapper, so smart. And I just think that. Even with what I'm wearing now, I don't know. It just adds a little bit of je ne sais quoi. There's a feel to it. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything quite like a Reverso feel. I know it's Art Deco, but it's an old money Art Deco sort of just feeling how it sits. But anyway, you were gonna.
No, it's a lovely reference, and I actually just think, generally speaking, that the Reverso doesn't get the love it deserves. Actually, 100%. I almost feel like it's it should be a part of any collection. There should be one in there. But you now both have a his and hers watch, which is interesting.
We have
so we did settle.
APs.
Oh, the APs as well. Yeah. Okay, that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
So, but your birthday came. You were presented with that. Tell me what emotions were going through the mind.
Well, so I mean, look, to tell the full disclosure, as in, you did come to me and say, hey, look, if you've got under 5k or whatever to spend on a watch, what would you go for? And now, the only reason the way my mind had thought was because I had to work with a similar budget, a lot less than 5k, for when it was wedding time to get married to my wife. And I went down the Reverso. You said a line there that everyone should have a Reverso in their collection. And I've always felt that. It was one of those watches where once you try it on, you can look at it from afar and you can look at it online. And I don't think you get the appreciation until it's on the wrist. And it just transforms your feeling. And I've chatted to so many different people who've had that, and just again that sound, the click, so it's so satisfying. Again, how it is in the story behind it in terms of playing polo and all of those things. As in, so my first, having searched for my wife's watch, that was what I ended up getting, because I just think again. You don't see them that often on women's watches. And again, I want something. Everyone's got you see Cartiers. And look, I love Cartiers. There's lots of different types of Cartier. But a Reverso, you just don't. Again, it's if I see that on a woman's watch, I'm like, either her husband knows his watches or she knows her watches. And
I saw one this weekend, funny enough, in Germany, in Munich, on a wrist of a lady. It was the rose gold with a chocolate brown dial, ultra thin case. I think it's the tribute case, the 1931
lovely.
Tribute. Stunning. But I've got to say, people, so she wears that watch a lot, does she?
Well, not. Yeah, actually, because it's quartz, so it stopped. So then she didn't wear it as much recently, but then
easy enough to get the battery changed. Did she?
We haven't actually done that yet, but as in will be. I need to do that very soon. But but she did wear it a lot and has been wearing it a lot. And and then the value you got on the secondary market, it's incredible. And so I had always said to myself, and I've said it first time I ever tried on a Reverso, I was like, one day I'll have a Reverso in my collection. But because of where we are in terms of, and how our bit of obsession with indies and things like that, you end up sort of going on this, what you're going to buy yourself. You sort of ignore the mainstream watches. And I'd say a Reverso is still a mainstream brand, mainstream.
Despite the fact that, as you say, you don't see them very much.
You don't see them very much.
I genuinely, I've seen that one in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I've got to say, looking at it there, and I'm not being, I'm not saying it because you're here, but I actually think that might be my favourite wear of any of your watches on you. It just sits like beautifully on you. Honestly, man.
Yeah.
So this is a mid-size, you would say. This is not a grand Reverso. This is a mid-size from a couple of years back. Classic case.
Yeah.
And it's got, for me, a sort of an age dial. It's got like a sort of an old school dial, very, very simple, traditional, elegant Reverso.
Well, you know me as well. Like, Roman numerals can sometimes be done well and not. And
we're going to come to a watch here with Roman numerals that's going to be divisive in some respects. But I'm with you. I don't like Roman numerals typically.
Yeah.
You don't have them there.
Don't have them there. I think, and as you say, it's almost like it's almost the centre of the dial is almost eggshell. And so again, the way it plays with light. So again, you get that as you're driving. You shouldn't be looking at the road, everyone, by the way. Not looking at your watch. But I can't help it sometimes.
How many crashes a year are caused by people being looking at their own watch versus the road?
But yeah, no, it's that eggshell dial. And again, because the outside's a little shinier. And yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's just how it sits. It's just how it sits on me. And no matter what I'm wearing, it makes you feel a bit more.
It's quartz, which we've only just established, which was funny because I think in the listing, now correct me if I'm wrong, Tony.
No, yeah.
But it might have just said, I think it just said movement, something movement. And I assumed it would be automatic or manual. But I genuinely like the fact that it's quartz because in some ways, what I found with the Elegant being quartz is you can push it as hard as you want. Yeah. I'm still reticent to push a mechanical watch really, really hard. I still don't believe that a mechanical watch, should be worn in every environment. I just don't think it should be worn to play tennis. I don't think you should play golf in a mechanical watch. But a quartz, I'd be happy to do. And so for that reason, I like that package. I like that package. It's going to get a lot of wear. It's obviously the watch people think about when they think of engraving, which is our subject today. What are you thinking about getting engraved on that case bag?
So, I mean, probably need a bit of help from
the audience, but there'll be some abuse. But when we look through the comments, there'll naturally be some negativity.
I think when we did the indies and the because we did some tier lists, didn't we? And we left out a whole load. Oh God,
we're always going to make mistakes. Indies, and guys, thank you for your comments, the positive and the negative. We genuinely embrace them all, and Pete and I respond to everything that people put.
I think someone said that these guys don't know half as much as they pretend to do. Hey, I'm a tennis commentator,
and I'm a meathead who's looking for discount on watches.
So don't take any expert advice from me.
You're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. So what are you thinking? There's a few options here.
So there's a few options. I mean, look, as in
because JLC, by the way, offer engraving services in their boutiques.
They do
in London here on Bond Street.
Because I was also thinking this as in with. I was thinking they're probably not going to be too happy with saying, get them online. You can get great discount on them
Brands now, I think, are actually having to embrace, which is brilliant. They're having to embrace the secondary market and engage in that way positively. It's like, hey, if you walk in with a watch you bought elsewhere, that's cool. Yeah. Like, where did I do that recently? With Bulgari, I walked in, I didn't buy that from them. Yeah. But I registered it. They helped me with a strap. Yeah. They were cool. It's all good.
Shall I tell you the story of wife's
Give
watch,
us the
and then
let's go into for those that missed it.
So for those that missed it, so we Justin and I actually recorded an engraving episode.
It disappeared into the abyss.
And we came away from that episode and we went, I think that's the best one we've ever done. I think that was it was emotional. Like, I remember actually getting a little bit emotional as we were talking about it because that's the thing with engravings. They're so personal and I think you only do them for really special moments towards special people. And because I think for you and I, it's like to engrave a watch, it has to be that because some people will see engraving a watch as sacrilege in terms of, particularly if you do it outside of, let's say, JLC doing it or because then you might, it's not done in the official way and it's the same as sort of icing a AP or whatever without it being aftermarket, all of those things, as people can view it the same way. But I think it shows you that, I think for especially you and I, as in for this watch in particular, because I was like, look, and the same with this one, as in that's what I bought my wife this watch here, so and that's the engraving of it. And look, I searched and searched because I wanted to find something that I could fit in my budget. It was difficult, and And then I wanted.
What did you pay for this out of interest? Just because people will be curious.
So hopefully my wife.
She won't be
doesn't
watching
listen.
this.
Yeah. So this and it has diamonds, obviously factory set diamonds.
Yeah, mother of pearl dial.
It's a pink. It's
Pink
not quite.
dial.
It's a pink
From
dial.
a distance, it looks mother of pearl.
And it's the. I think it's the same reference actually, even as this one.
Really? Wow.
So it's the same reference. So again, it's quartz, but again, the center is almost like an eggshell purple, pinky, and then the outside is the sort of plays with the light. And I think it just goes really well with the diamonds. And yeah, it's. Because I'm not.
What were you in for, though? People?
Don't
dodge the question.
The thing as well with the diamonds
Don't
was
dodge the
that her engagement ring, or was it the wedding ring? Yeah, engaged. Yeah, so her wedding ring technically was diamonds around a very small blue diamond engagement ring.
Okay.
So it fit the sort of it fit what would have been little diamonds on her wrist. So yeah, I think I paid about £2,000.
Okay.
For it. Which
Where did it come from?
It was a German. I remember saying. So I got it from Chrono 24.
It was an auction house, right? Oh no, not an auction house. It's called Zeit Auction.
Yes.
So Zeit Auctions, forgive me. Zeit Auction are actually acquired by Chrono 24. I don't know if they still are acquired, but at the same time as Zoops in the UK was bought by Chrono 24, Zeit Auction was, or very similar.
Their prices were unreal, and again, it was the challenge for me was finding one that was pretty mint condition, which it was, and so many at the bottom tier of like around 2000 had engravings already. And so you were buying someone else's like RC. It's like, well, what is that? Who's that? I was thinking, can I? The reason, you're really kind. Spelled wrong. As in, I was thinking, God, but I obviously really wanted to find one that was clean.
But that's interesting because that's our first point on engraving is that you intuitively like engraving, but you wouldn't be buying a watch with engraving.
And there are some that people are selling.
Yep.
That are engraved, and I think there's a lovely story to that as well. You can buy someone else's.
So for me, if you're not giving it as a gift, a personal gift, with the intention of having it engraved yourself, then it's okay. Yeah. You find pre-engraved watches interesting. You would buy one if.
I think pre-engraved. I mean. Yeah, because there's a story. I think you had.
I had a footballer.
Footballer, and it had the little football club.
3706 IWC.
It was Cologne, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Cologne footballer.
Yeah, Cologne football, and again, so I like the fact that made that watch even more special because you then go to the store and you know who's had it, and I think as long as you still get to enjoy that watch. But there are, it's not as pure, right? As in, and it means you can't then add to it with the engraving. But so yeah, I look, about £2,000, I think it was, which I thought was a bargain for what that is.
Interestingly enough, I don't think she was in for much more. I can't remember. I genuinely can't recall. I think it was under 3.
Yeah,
somewhere between 2 and 3 for yours. So that's the type of value we're talking at the moment.
Yeah,
as we speak at the end of February,
about 2 years ago. So it's in. But anyway, it was clean. So then. Real credit to must go to Vanessa from AP House because I was saying, look, I'd love to get it engraved, and because again, it's not something. It's the wedding watch, so I'd like to think she wouldn't throw it out or switch it or try. It's not about trading it in to make a bit of money out of it, and so I wanted. So with my wife, sadly, her father passed away just before I met her, and he's a fascinating man in terms of. Really successful man, real individual thinker, questions everything, but by all means was loved by sort of everyone who sort of came across him as in really quirky character.
Irish,
but full of like positivity and full of wit, Irish dry sense of humour, all of those things. And so I feel like I know him because I've heard so much about him. But when he passed away, a feather dropped down from the sky. And she just felt it like, where the hell did that come from? That was in the hospice room that he was in, and so she's always then felt when she sees feathers, she feels his presence, and it gives me a bit of shivers talking about it. As in, so I then thought, well, actually, because of that, he obviously isn't able to walk her down the aisle, and that's obviously what I think all daughters would like is their father or to walk them down the aisle. So I wanted him to be there for that aisle walk in some way. So I decided, I thought, well, I'll get a feather engraved on the inside of it, and I will obviously then have our little date, the date of the wedding there. This is where Vanessa from AP House came in great hand, and this is where I apologise to JLC workers for you said about getting engraved.
Who initially, interesting enough, we used to work for JLC.
Yeah, you used to work for JLC.
Deputy boutique manager there.
Deputy. And this
so
is
she knows the brand.
She knows the inside.
She knows the brands well.
Yeah, and also, by the way, said loved working there. Absolutely, and again the movement, and they are known as the watchmakers watch company, right? Yeah. As in. And when you chat to and when you chat to people in terms of when we talk about the Holy Grail and you talk about the Holy Trinity, you kind of feel JLC is probably the closest to it, I think. And when you talk about movements and things, as in they often use all the the 212 movement for the 15202 and all of that, as in so. JLC, incredible brand. So I just want to say that as in you know what you're getting from them. But she said, "Oh look, there's an engraving company in Bond Street. Do you know the silver
in the arcade there?
In the arcade there, the silver where they selling. And it's an incredible place to go. I'd never even been there. Didn't even know it existed
until very recently. I met Tortoise Watches in there downstairs, and they've got some amazing vintage watches. So if you're ever passing by, it's literally 100%. Next to Bond Street Station.
Bond Street Station,
opposite the exit on the side.
Yeah. And it's you wouldn't think it's there. And there's all sorts of trinkets, all sorts of, and you can find some amazing bargain vintage watches hidden in and around there. So it's a great little treasure trove just to have a nose around. But there's a place called O'Connell's down there that do engraving. And they do engrave watches. And I couldn't believe the price. I can't actually fully remember what the price was, but I thought they missed a zero on it. Really? I came in there with I just printed it off the internet in terms of I looked for a sketch, because I went in there and had a conversation with them initially saying, would you be able to do a feather, because that's quite a tough thing to engrave, and it's hand engraved. And they said, yeah, but give us the sketch and we'll be able to do that. And so I sort of showed him on the phone and then printed it, and he's like, yeah, send that to me, great. And they did it, and I think they've done an absolutely unbelievable job. It's such a beautiful feather.
We're talking under 100 quid?
I think it was like £69 or something.
And turn around pretty quick?
Turn around really quick. As in, I think it was a few days, 4 or 5 days probably. Wow. This is tough because it was about 2 years ago. I'm having to remember all this, but I honestly thought, because the JLC did have it done by JLC, it obviously cost quite a bit more, and obviously exactly what you're getting there. So I was taking a risk, and especially with something bespoke like that. But I thought they did a magnificent job, and when I got it back and then had to pay, I think £69, something like that, I was very much like I would have paid quite a bit more because of the craftsmanship that they've been able to do that with. I think it was absolutely stunning. And so then I was able to present it to my wife just before the day before we got married, and then got married, if you know what I'm saying.
So she wore the watch down
wore the watch down the aisle. And then actually the wedding, just to cap off the wedding story with it, so as she had it on, we had a fantastic wedding, absolutely loved every moment of it. But as we were, where we stayed, there was a little tree house. We were in the tree house, and there was a path to the tree house, and it had been blustery. It hadn't been the best of weather. It'd been okay weather. It was nice for the moments we needed it to be nice. So I thought it was a perfect day. My wife might disagree, but as we'd finished the whole day, I felt someone had almost done this. So there's winding path outside in the countryside, and in the middle of the path, your first step on the path to our treehouse, a big feather, almost an identical feather to the one on the watch, in the middle of the path, it was a bit spooky. It was a bit eerie, and I genuinely thought it was so like shivers down your spine. I genuinely thought maybe someone from her family has decided to walk out and place. It couldn't have been placed any more perfectly, but it was like a little sign. And look, I don't know, I'm not religious, but I'm not religious, I believe, and so I think maybe there are little nods like that. But that obviously then added to that for the engravement. So when you ask me, so long-winded answer to your question that you asked me, what do I get this engraved with? What I'd like to do is, I want my wife to come up with something, because I feel, because she was the one who gifted me the watch, she needs to come up with something. It's harder because, like, my 40th, that to me that doesn't probably compare to our wedding day, but it's a watch that I won't ever pass on or sell on. We have had the birth of our first child, so I haven't been able to mark that. When I got the Elegant, that came about when he was born, I did discuss with them trying to engrave it and whatnot, and you can get it done. It is possible, but it's difficult and it's long-winded. And I think I needed to probably say it before I got it, because to engrave it after it's been finished, I think it's very difficult. Yeah. So
title on the case.
Would it be title on the case. So I think you need to say it before it comes to you.
Okay.
And so I haven't marked his birth either. So, and I think his birth is probably more interesting than a 40 or anything like that, because I think that's pretty dull. But I think my wife needs to get inventive and think of something. But maybe our YouTube comments can help.
Let us know, guys. What should Pete's wife have engraved? You mentioned a thumbprint of your son.
Yeah, thumbprint of the son. My son. My son's called Ziggy as well.
Ziggy.
Pretty random, but Z. But yeah, as in. That would be amazing. A thumbprint would be incredible, but I think that would be. I mean, the feather they've done amazingly well, but it would be tough to do.
I guess you could ink his finger.
Ink his finger
in a traditional way and put it on. Give it to them. Boom.
You'd need it. Yeah. So I think maybe that would. I think that is probably a really good idea.
That would be a really interesting one. I've never seen that done.
Yeah. And then maybe just my date in terms of 40th.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So maybe look. It's down to but yeah, it's O'Connell's is where the place was in terms of look. I mean, I've never chatted to them since. They've not had any dealings with me, but and I'm telling them to put their prices up. So maybe that's
got to be a recommendation though. Anyone in the area in that part of town,
but just to go there anyway.
Pop in and see
have a look around.
I definitely
a lot of history there as well.
I agree that watch-wise, there's some fun stuff in there. Tortoise is an amazing place as well. So we both agree, Pete Boy. Generally speaking, engravings are good. They're cool. They add value. I would say the market probably suggests that they take away value, generally speaking, without any provenance. The reason the footballer was cool was because it was someone I could trace.
Yes.
Of course, you look at the Paul Newman, of course, that added a huge amount of value to that watch. If it just had the VB or whatever it might be on the back of that probably doesn't, that detracts from the price. So if you're looking to sell it down the line, it probably detracts from the price.
Yeah.
And I'm coming to this point now because I have a watch that I have not yet got that I've been umming and ahhing about getting engraved or not. And it's a personal one as well. And it's a watch that I'd really like to think that I would keep forever. But because of it's a very, very bold watch. It's a bold watch. And I haven't got a watch apart from that IWC. I actually don't have any more, but I did have that watch, and I love the engraving, and I like the idea of engraving generally. I genuinely, if the watch was in great condition, I'd be all over it if it had an engraving of any kind on the back.
Yeah.
But this watch I'm talking about is a watch, guys. This is the first time I'm speaking about this publicly, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never.
Is that why the other podcast got binned? Really, you're telling me it got lost, but actually you were like, can't chat about that. Like,
I have not talked about it yet, but it's a watch that I'm super excited about. It's one that's been in the works for the best part of a year and a half, actually. It's a Piaget watch. It is officially now called the Warhol watch. The Warhol watch. So Piaget this year, 2025, have the accreditation and partnership with the family foundation, the foundation of the Warhol Foundation, to officially call it the Warhol watch. Now, he never was seen wearing this watch. He had a number of Piaget watches and a number of other brands, but he particularly loved Piaget. He wasn't a close friend of Yves Piaget, but they did meet each other well after he had bought his watches. So he had these 6-7 watches, whatever it was. And they mixed in the same circles, mainly in St. Moritz and other places. There was this sort of very creative crowd, and Yves Piaget was at the centre of that. Originally, the Warhol watch had 3 steps on the case. It now has 5. It's a big watch. It wears in a very interesting way. As I say that, I'm wearing a big watch. I'm wearing this Type 5 Ressence, which we'll come to in a moment. But the key for me was the case shape is like nothing else. It wears like nothing else. The stone dials that Piaget work with and source are at a next level quality. And I've been there to see them cutting stone. I've seen the stone selection. And so most of the watches they make, they have a few in stock at the boutiques like Malachite and others, but you really have to go through the process of making it bespoke, because actually Watches and Wonders a few years ago, many of you remember, an Italian dealer actually commissioned 10 platinum watches, all with different stones. And the one that jumped out to me in that day, and this is when the thought process started, was this orange dial, this orange stone. So I've got on the journey, and I've now got to the final point of choosing the stone, which is an insane stone. It's orange. It is a mookaite. For anyone out there that knows, sorry, you can tell I've got a bit of man flu.
Nothing to do with cows.
Nothing to do with cows.
No.
But actually maybe an engraving on the back.
Okay.
With a cow on the back would be interesting. But it's a moo kite, so it's orange. It's part of the jasper family. And it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. It's really punchy. It polishes beautifully, so it's very sheet. When you turn it at an angle, it sheets off in a really interesting way. It looks almost like Mars, or Jupiter, or it looks interstellar, and that's in that way. Anyway, case back. This was the opportunity, and my dad is still with us, thankfully, but he's been very unwell in the last few years, and I don't have a watch that really, he wore. He never really wore a watch. He wears a watch that I gave him. He wears a Swatch now, which ironically has an orange dial as well. It's got an orange slice.
Love it.
The orange slice Swatch. But he had always been a real gregarious man, like, over the top, love colours. He's a man that, on holidays, I can remember his passion and joy that he used to get buying shite T-shirts when we were on holiday. He'd look for a Hawaiian shirt on holiday. He'd look for a shirt that had something offensive on it. I'll never forget walking down the promenade in Spain somewhere. Bright pink shirt, bright pink, like the strap on your elegant.
Yeah.
And it just said, "My next wife will be normal," in massive writing. And professionally, he's a lawyer, quite a serious, professional, but he loved fun. And when he played golf, he'd always wear bright coloured socks that were pulled up, Scottish style, like woolen ones. He'd always have bright coloured socks on, or underwear or whatever. And just a fun-loving man. And so I thought, this watch really does sum him up. And instead of marking him when he's not here, I thought it'd be interesting to mark him while he is here, to show it to him and say, "Dad, you know what? This is for you. This is for you." And the engraving on the back was, what could we have as his, what could we have on the back? So I thought, my sister and I were chatting, and we were like, what he used to say to us all the time? Every time we left the house to go and do something, go on holiday, go to school, whatever, he'd say, "Take it easy, kiddo." He'd say, "Take it easy, kiddo." Because he's African guy, but English lineage. Apparently his father left South Africa in a blaze of glory, basically being caught out by his wife, messing around with some other lady or whatever, and had to get the quickest way out of town. No, he left the UK. So he was in Cornwall. He was Cornish. And he had to leave Cornwall quite quickly, and he got on a boat, and that took him to South Africa. And that was the story we were told. There we go. God knows what happened. We'll never know.
So you've got some Cornish heritage.
Got some more Cornish heritage.
Yeah. You obviously know I'm Cornish.
Yeah. So actually, we have.
There's some. Yeah, that's why we like the same watches.
Maybe our logo should have had some sort of. Maybe it's going to be independent fairly soon, but that's a side note. Anyway, so his dad was a character, interesting enough, but my dad, he's just a lovely, carefree man in so many ways, and full of charisma. So I want to show him this watch and say, "Dad, look at this. Like, this is a watch, and this is your favorite thing. Take it easy, kiddo." Never took anything too seriously. Anyone who ever knew him would say he's a guy that offers you a beer first thing you come in. Super chilled. My mum was the opposite, and it works because of that. So here we go. So I'll hopefully have some photos coming over the screen now for you to see the example of that. And it's just going to be very elegantly done by Piaget themselves, in-house, on a white gold case.
Trust you just to gazump me, right? As in, take it to full bespoke, like as in everything. No.
It's the good people. The good people at Piaget have been kind enough to add that inscription. And they've given these renderings which show you. So we have got photos and people can see. And I've got photos of the stone as well, actually, so people can see the stone before it gets cut and after. And it will change in colour.
I mean, but I think that's the thing with stone dials, as in, because everyone is unique. They're different.
They gave me the choice of 6, and they look like big pieces of like meat. What's that Spanish? That very sort of wet, beautiful, very rich flavored meat. And so they give me the options, and so you can choose it. And I've gone for one that's very rich with lots of sort of life in the stone. I didn't want it to be just a flat colour. I wanted it to have lots of charisma.
So you got to choose the actual bit of the stone that you wanted to be in the watch.
And there are many people that have done this, by the way. They've gone through the process of doing this. You can go to in Geneva, in the Piaget HQ. They have a gemology department, and they have so many hundreds and thousands of stones that people go through. Amazing experience, truly amazing experience. So I'm not sure when the watch is coming, but of course when it does come, we'll go through it again in full.
And I mean, look, you've got that bespoke, so I kind of think that is the perfect watch. And I love the fact that you are honouring your dad whilst he's still alive, because I then think, I don't know, that's got to be so lovely for him to.
I'm almost tempted to give it to him to wear, actually, to really, to allow him to enjoy it for what it is as well.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't wear it as he's playing golf.
My God, yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, he's, and going maybe going a step deeper that we may not need to do, but because there's a lot of people out there that will be suffering this sad and debilitating and horrible illness themselves. Dad was diagnosed with early stage, early onset dementia when he wasn't old. I mean, he was maybe late 50s, 60s.
More and more. So many many people.
Quite sad. And thankfully, we've all been very grateful that he's got frontal temporal dementia, which hasn't changed his character. He's still exactly the same man that we've known and loved forever. So when you see him, he's full of energy and laughter and gratefulness. But it's just very sad to see, really, because we've sort of been saying goodbye to him and mourning him for some time because he's just been slowly disappearing.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would say is, for anyone who's going through it as well, you'll recognise that the people who are suffering with the illness, they absolutely feel the energy that you bring. And if you have a laugh with them and you have a chat with them and all of that great stuff, they respond so beautifully to it. They may not remember the detail of the conversation, but they remember the energy you left with them in that moment.
100%. I like my gran. It's still alive, amazing life. But yeah, she's Alzheimer's and dementia. And so now struggles to, I think she can sense it's me because, again, the energy. Yeah. And my mum, she was living with my mum for a long time. My mum's an only child, and really tough for my mum because obviously having dementia and all these things. But yet, she never wanted to be at home. She's like the one place never wanted to be at home. But it just got to a point where having falls and whatnot. So now she's finally gone into a home, and it's almost it's funny because it's almost brought her old self out. She was expelled from school because she was
a
real mischievous, just full of it's funny because my son he's only 8-9 months, but you
can tell already
he's an absolute nightmare. As in drama and into everything, and we're like, who in the family has
he's
that?
An ode to your gran.
And it's ode to my gran. As my gran was she was a bit of an actress and all these other things, and she was someone I looked up to the most out of anyone because. Kindest soul as well, would always stop to chat to homeless people, give money to homeless people. Didn't have that much money herself, but just one of the kindest. But just if you had, I remember my memories are always going to an Italian restaurant as a family meal, and she would, a waitress would come over who is a little large, but whatever, doesn't matter, and she would say, my son really fancies you. And just bright red, and then you're stuck. Just to create conversation.
A real wind-up.
Wind up. But it created conversation, created stories, created fun. She was a bit of a provocateur with that as well. But it was all from a good place because she just wanted
inject fun.
And so she's now gone into this old people's home and. She's now just causing chaos,
havoc,
absolute havoc, but in the most wonderful way. And so it's actually I've seen her actually still have that. And look, she can't. I bring in her now great grandson, and obviously she doesn't remember that he's there and who my wife is, but she's who is he? So gorgeous, and it always returns to my wife. Oh, you're so beautiful, over and over again. You're so beautiful. Who are you again? You're so beautiful. But it says all of these lovely posive things.
That's amazing.
But then with the mischievous, but obviously can't remember. 20 seconds on, can't remember it, but that her soul and her character has almost been given a lift because she's got people to entertain.
Yeah,
that's
exactly the same as my dad. It's funny. He's always been wonderful and full of life and energy, but he wasn't the most forthcoming with, say, sort of compliments and that type of thing. And over. But now he's really. It's almost like an abundance of
the dangerous thing with her, she's overly honest. So I think if she does it, she might
tell you if you haven't brushed your teeth.
With me, she goes, "What's that? You got that bald spot on you?" Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Who hasn't brushed their teeth in the room?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So that's engraving. I think that's where we are, right? So anyway,
I think 100%. But so on that, because I know we moved.
Do you think
it's 100%? You should get that engraved. 100%. I love the line, the strap line. I mean, like father, like son, right? In terms of win the day. But would you go? Ask Piaget to do that, or because it's all then so bespoke, because it's bespoke on their
I think,
or would you take it to an O'Connell's?
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, and you'll see it in the photo, but I think the structure of the back case is interesting, closed back case.
Yes.
The general font type is of sort of official, I don't know what it is, a sans serif of some kind that's fairly blocky. And then the way they've done it is in the middle. There is a section in the middle of the back plate that has space for an engraving. And this writing is quite sort of italicized. It's sort of quite elegant.
So so almost Piaget offer that as a bespoke.
I think so, and I believe that's done by hand. whereas the case I think is machined. So
Okay.
I think you've got this nice contrast, which I really like between the two.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm
You go the Piaget route rather than
yeah.
I mean, I think that
And
would
she's
be...
actually waiting for wonderful lady Alexia, who's head of that department, and she's still waiting to hear from me. So after this now, I'll definitely message her and tell her to go for that.
Because with stone dials as well, that's the... I mean, I remember AP released stone dial
the
AP,
37
didn't
Royal
they?
Oak.
Yeah.
With the turquoise.
With the turquoise. And again, chatting to Vanessa and AP House and others there, I love that watch. I thought, wow. And she said, it really was dependent what part of the stone you got. She said she saw some and was like, not sure. Others, and she was like, that's the most amazing watch ever. And so that's
To
great
be honest
that
with
they
you,
offered you...
Yeah, you offered the choice. To be honest,
Yeah.
she didn't push me in any direction, and I'm not entirely sure that I have chosen the right one. I know with malachite,
with
for
light,
example,
it's gonna be-
malachite, for example, has these wonderful lines to it, the green stone,
Yeah.
and they try and get those to be very linear. That's the sign of a good piece of stone. Now, with this particular one, with Mukite, there is no good or bad. I don't think, because it's so varied, it's so dramatic. I just wanted it to be more dramatic than it ever could be. So it's got a white, sort of creamy, sort of almost... Anyways, you know, if you drop milk into coffee, you know the way milk hits coffee and it goes like that? That's what it looks like. It looks like there's been a dramatic drop of milk into this orange space. It's orange.
Yeah.
It's quite light orange. It's just, it's really full bore. It's going to be like, whoa. It's
But I
going to
mean,
be, and that's what it is. The case is full bore. The drama of Piaget at that time, and they've got a tagline. It's not extravaganza. It's extravaganza. Like Piaget is extravaganza. And that's what I thought. You know, why go for something safe on it? If you're going to go all out, you've got to go all out.
And I think on the point of watches, look, with everything getting technologized, and you know, I don't particularly like the way of the world in terms of where we're going, because everything seems to be less and less handcraft, and it's going to be AI generated, and all of these things automated. And I just think that's part of my love of watches, and you know, like Roger Smith or whoever, where they do things. Yeah, this is totally done handmade. I mean, Grubel Forsey the other day is in. Love that, because that, you know, imperfections are what makes something perfect. I believe, and I think. Like, and so we can love this element that we have. Obviously, a lot of things are still machine made and whatnot, which they have to be for safety checks. But I think it's the next level, isn't it? Getting it engraved. And again, you don't have to do it at a price point. Baltic, when we're talking about stone dials, you can do a Baltic and
Denison.
get that. Go then O'Connell's, and so you can do something so special, so. You know, and we use that phrase. I remember, you know, unique. It does make it unique, because there won't be anyone else who has that engravement on it. So, I think that will be, out of all the watches you own, when you finally get that. Because I mean, I love stone dials anyway. I said one day I'll own a Reverso. This was how I've ended up doing. And I also kind of wanted Ali to pick a watch for me. I wanted her to be happy with the watch, and obviously you helped out a great deal, because I wanted it to be her choice, so I then have got a watch that is from her, so I can look at it and think of her. I think that's really important. So I think personalization, we always talk about, there's nothing else like it. Well, there truly isn't when you've got it engraved. And it also means it has to stay in the collection. Okay, yeah, look, you could get divorced, and that's probably why you've got and whatnot. You could really, really desperately need that money at some point. But I think
even if you did, I mean, this is.
I'm
probably,
not sure I'd sell it.
No, this is probably a step further down the line, and for a conversation for another time. Even if, God forbid, you did get divorced, and you wouldn't be the first to do this, where there are things in, you know, physical assets that connect you. You know, let's be clear. That's the mother of your son.
Yes.
And it is it marks, I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation really, but it marks a particular period, a very, very important period of time in your life. Yeah. So I would argue, and the same for me in my 1921, the Vacheron 1920, I got married in that watch, and I had my daughter, you know, the photo of me holding her was with that watch. Yeah. That's a watch that I can say right now is probably one of the very, very few that I would never sell because of those moments. Yeah. You know, there it is. Guys, I'm well aware that it's now, well, geez, I don't know how long we're in, but I hope you've been enjoying it. Let's just dive into a few watches on the table, because, you know, okay, let me start with this just to finish you up. So this is my Ressence Type 5 diver.
I think what we've got to do here, by the way, I've got to try that on, and you've got to try my Reverso on, because
take that.
It's because we often talk about sizes, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we have similar taste in watches, which I think when we first did this pod, we were like,
this is the
oh dear, this is going to be just going to be an echo chamber. That's my favourite watch. I love that watch as well. Yada, yada, yada. And
it's a deploying as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's even better.
So
I love those. I love those straps. They're the best for me.
Yeah.
Same as the Elegant.
I actually like, usually I'm not a black leather strap guy, but I actually think it really suits that.
This is
by the way,
amazing.
the strap I'm thinking again, people help me out. At the moment, I'm looking for a dark green ostrich. That's what I think I might go with.
100%.
I think that
I'm with that. Oh,
I think the camel coloured ostrich a little bit too in terms of what you compare it with. Whereas
Jesus,
a dark
you've got a
green
small
I think
wrist?
would be great. I've got a very small wrist. Yeah, crazy small. Hence, we're going to learn here. As in this is...
Now, just tell me the colours on that watch there. Okay, this is oil filled. Now, anyone who's following the channel will know I've just done a video on the unboxing of this, which wasn't a planned unboxing, but just off the cuff. I did the book last year with them. It was the watch that I fell in love with. I wrote a story 10 years ago for Revolution.
Wow.
You
are old.
I know. Fucking hell. I wrote a watch on that. I wrote a story on that watch, and I just love it. It is Ressence at its core, Belgian-based business, oil-filled, the very first and only watch that you can read underwater at any angle because it's oil-filled. And Pete, honestly, I think you're banging that.
Wow,
I think you're banging that.
I can't believe this.
Now, it's incredibly organic. The shape, there are no lugs to it at all. It's titanium.
Isn't this a 46?
46 millimeters.
No.
46 millimeters. It is insatiably cool. I'm sorry, that is insatiably cool.
Look, it suits
big.
you way more than me, but I can't believe that actually fits my... I thought it was going to be like a handbag.
No. And the beauty of this is, now hear me out, I believe that the watch that fits me the best is something that's, say, 40 millimeters or under, down to 38 millimeters is the sweet spot for me, personally, 38 to 40. Yeah. But a dive watch, you can do what you want with. There are no parameters to a dive watch. That's my belief. You can do what you want. There are no rules. Because a dive watch needs to be big. It needs to be legible. Look at the play on that. I'm sorry. The build quality. The locking system on the side lock and the unlock side. So because it's managed, on the back case back, sometimes you can get a bit of slip on it. So you can end up moving the time by mistake. On this one, you can't. The back case is locked while it's in. Look at the type font. Look at the colours he's chosen. I mean, it's on a strap, Velcro green strap, for God's sake.
The crazy thing with this, and look, I've said as well with Ressence, right, as in, but the next step for me was water resistance.
Yeah. I hear you on most models. On most models.
Raining, you're even in trouble with it, right?
Yep.
It's slightly dangerous, whereas this was the one that it's a dive watch. But it was bonkers watching you walk down the street. I mean, it suits you way more than it suits me because I think you've got a bit more flab or muscle. Sorry.
Timber.
But it's the angle. It's the fact that you can look at an angle and you still know the time.
And it's organic. Look at the shape of it there.
Yeah. Well, because it's not one I've ever looked at in the Ressence collection because I've been like, well, that's giant.
It's giant, yeah.
So I'm not going to touch that.
So when you said you got it, I was discontinued now. This titanium version, the black's been discontinued. So it now comes in black, which is a black on black, which makes it wear even smaller. But look at that.
It's a Ressence strap as well.
It's a Ressence strap.
I was going to say this is a great strap for it.
Yeah. I think we need to see more Velcro at the top end. I mean, the high end. I honestly think this is going to be my summer watch this year. And I hope that it's my summer watch for many, many years more to come. Because... nothing like it. We keep saying it. There's nothing like it.
Look pretty good on you,
honestly.
Yeah.
Now I just love. Now it's weirdly enough, the strap is a bit small for me because it's pulling me around, but I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, and funny enough, seeing it on your wrist, it makes me love it even more. Loves that, and seeing it on someone else's wrist does shape how you. Quick fire, guys, because we've got 10 minutes. We've got 10 minutes. I was in Munich for the Inhorgenta trade show. Came across these guys, Rolf Kremer. No presence in the UK, no presence in France, and none of our group knew them. But they are making the most bizarre case-shaped watches that are very much on trend at the moment for nothing. 40 euros for this. Wow. It's quartz, made in China. The guy designs it all himself. It's just banging fun. Absolutely banging fun.
Fantastic.
I got to go recently, and I've got a video coming out in fact, by the time you see this, you will have seen the video of me going to visit Hermes at their factory with Emily, and we fell in love with the H08. Titanium watch. We met the designer, Philip, who designed the watch. Absolutely incredible. Everything's fresh about this design.
I mean, we've said about it before, right? As in, if you can't get hold of an Elegant and you can't afford an Elegant...
Just Phil, look at that.
Why are you not...
Look at that. Why are you not...
I know Elegant's very different with it being quartz and this is an automatic, but for me... like, why would you not go for that? I absolutely love the H08.
Now, very, very soon, you'll be able to customize this to some extent in the boutiques. In the Hermes boutique, you can go in and you can choose from different configurations, which is super cool.
The one I love the most, by the way, the one I was...
That's actually a pull there, Pete. Sorry, if you just pinch the... interesting enough, pinch it and pull. There you go.
The one I love the most, my favourite, I think, Sand Dial. Did they do it?
The Hodinkee one,
yeah.
Very
I
good.
think, and again with the, I loved it. Yeah.
They do a lot of this in-house. I saw them making the dials, saw them doing other things to it. They make tools to make for the tool machines, the dials, the cases, the voucher movement inside is what they own. The brand
again, I just think people are looking for lots of people buy like a Submariner and that lot for the same cheaper, the same prices.
Look at this watch.
Why would you not go there?
Screw down crown. You can double deploy it there as well, Pete. You can pull
and
it.
And it's 100 meters, isn't it?
I think it's it's good. I think it's good. Honestly, I don't know, but it's looking good. I've got a rubber strap, a green rubber strap at home now to put on it. Look at that.
Lovely.
Titanium super light. Next up, we've got a very controversial watch, which I'm delighted to say I've enjoyed wearing for the last few weeks. It's from Bremont. We were all shocked, and it's actually another Velcro strap, which is cool. But we were all shocked with the rebrand. What I have been thinking about when it comes to Bremont now is take this as it comes now. Forget about the past. That's gone. Forget about what you thought about the brand before. This is the new brand. This is full ceramic, the tactical full ceramic. I think there's a lot of great design in this. Now, they are not paying me a sausage, just to be clear to say this. I genuinely
You've got to pay Justin normally to say anything.
Yeah, I'm fully backed and paid, by the way, for everything. Yeah. But this genuinely has some great design DNA. Now, I totally saw it. With some of those watches, it feels like Mont Blanc. For some of the bits, it feels like the Tudor Black Bay that Davide, who's at Bremont now, he was involved with. But this genuinely feels very, very different. Look at that and tell me that's not cool. And you confessed to me that you fell in love. Yeah, that's very expensive, by the way. That's the only caveat to that, is that's probably too
my
expensive.
Only issue with this one, now look, as in, I think it's impressive that the fact it's all ceramic. I think again, as a tall watch, you're out there, and that's what they're selling it to. Like, you're mountain climbing, you're doing all these hardcore sports.
Less military focused now, much more outdoorsy. I see.
Outdoorsy,
much more outdoorsy.
Again, that's a lovely sound. It's well done. Now, the one because this one I'm not sure. There's something about, I don't know whether it's about the font where Bremont is. It feels too low on certain watches. I don't know.
Like towards the
centre,
the anchor.
Yeah, and that might just be me. And again, for me, there's not enough going on the dial there. But it's beautifully made. The one I really like was the Terra Nova with the steel bracelet. I know they've done a pink one of that just recently. I haven't seen the pink one, but the original one, which I think had
like a brown maybe.
Yeah, but it was a grain dial. But
I hate that dial layout. I've got to confess. I hate that dial. But I think the bracelet's interesting. I think the bracelet's very good.
And so I tried that on. And it's 38 because we were talking about ideal side. 38 sat perfectly. The case shape was interesting as well of the watch.
Pink
and the
dial.
Bracelet. So the pink dial one. But I mean, so it's the same. I didn't try on the pink dial one, but the bracelet wrapped. It was really ergonomic and sat perfectly on my wrist. And I was like, actually, you having a bit of time with that watch, I was like, that's been really nicely designed. I could wear that as an everyday piece easily, and I really liked it. And I was like, I'm sort of tempted. I mean, I didn't.
That was in at $3,000-ish.
$3,000. Yeah.
This is at like 6, 7.
Yeah.
The guys at Watches Switzerland tell me that the pink dial was flying out the door. They generally, initially when the rebrand took place, Watches Wonders this time last year, they didn't see many sales.
Yeah.
They're now seeing some serious sales. Particularly for that pink dial.
Because that pink dial, I think, is limited.
Possibly.
It's a limited.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, but because I liked, the Bremont's slightly higher on that. It's not affected. So
interesting.
Yeah, I was trying it on. Because I thought I was at an airport and I thought I had like an hour to kill. So I was like, well, let's go in there. And, or as we always say, go and try on the watches. And these watches got so panned, and I thought, actually, if you gave that to someone and said, try that on, what do you think? And how it sat, the ergonomics of it, the bracelet, and how tough is it to create a bracelet these days that hasn't been done before, that isn't like AP,
exactly.
that isn't, and they did it. And I was kind of like, maybe those details were missed in that launch. For me anyway, I was pleasantly surprised.
Now, we only have 5 more minutes left. So before we come to the 3 watches that I own on this table here, this is one that I've been loaned. I think Panerai are going to have a great year this year. Now, I say that because I think we're at a point where we might see a bit of a pushback on small watches and jewelry watches. It's a big call. But I think I like a larger watch generally. I feel a bit exposed in a very small watch, but I'm coming to probably my smallest in a minute that I have recently bought. But look at this. This is 40mm in pink gold with a green sunburst dial. And it's a ready made. Look at the buckle on that. How elegant is that? Yeah. You know, if Panerai are going to continue to talk about the Italian lifestyle, I'm all in. I don't want to necessarily hear about war. I don't want to hear about tactical teams. I want to hear about this. This is why I would buy Panerai. The abundanza of life.
He was quite good on the right wing for Napoli, wasn't he?
Quite possibly, but look at that, Pete. That is a fantastic, fantastic watch and a wonderful thing. I just think that case shape, the Radomir case, is so elegant. The wire lugs.
See, Panerai, it's funny because I always, my first watch, obviously my first big watch was my Chaumet Dandy Slim, Zenith Movement. And the reason I like the cushion shaped, I do like a cushion shape, but I don't know whether it's just Panerai because it's just cushion shaped. So I kind of am like, oh, it's another cushion shape from Panerai. But yeah, this is exactly the right direction.
How Playboy
I'm not taken by many Panerais at all. There's something about them I just don't. But this is stunning. This is beautiful. And I completely agree. That's quite
stunningly elegant buckle.
The
Italians just get it right.
It is quite Patek.
The Italians, for me, head and shoulders, they're always the ones shaping the watch world and design world in my mind. Look at that on the wrist.
That is beautiful. And if I didn't own my Chaumet, I would be going, oh, I need a cushion-shaped watch like this. But yeah, I mean,
they're improving the depth rating on these things. I mean, how Playboy to wear a gold watch diver on holiday. I mean, it's of course it's not attack. You know, you're not diving in any great depth, but you are wearing it around the pool, and you're hopefully getting a permatan. And to me, with a white linen number on in Positano, you're feeling good with that one.
So it's interesting though that you say about you think watches are going to go bigger because I mean AP. Nothing under 41, I don't think.
We've just seen the new launch of the QPs and the Royal Oaks. I wonder if that's more technical than it is aesthetic in that sense.
Yeah.
Right, people. 2 more minutes. Let me fly through this. The ultimate purchase. The best barnyard purchase I've made in years. Found this for sale on eBay, full set, sold in Roma, the home of Bulgari. To a VIP client. In the papers it says VIP client, no name, VIP client. It's the titanium sandblasted Octo Finissimo. I've had one over the years, but this came up on eBay, insane value. He was asking 4,800. I got him down to 4,005. Picked up on the same day. Micro rotor caliber, ultra thin, 40mm. Wears a bit bigger because it's quite an interesting case. It's very Roman in its case shape and it's very architectural. But this, and I just picked up this matte leather strap. Tell me that is not one of the most
how much did you pay?
4.5.
I mean,
and it retails, I think, at about 13, 14-ish. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've had Octos in the past. Value. The bracelets are insane on them, but the strap accentuates the design for me in a way that's just blown me away. Put that sucker on the wrist. Tell me what you think.
Because I've always felt it's almost too skinny for me, but I think... I mean, it's
a statement watch. You'll never feel that you're wearing it. It's super light. That's design. That's engineering.
The money you're paying for that, absolute bargain. Unbelievable.
The world hasn't woken up yet to the Octo, and it's unfair because it's got so many things going on in the world. I think this year we're going to see a smaller. We're going to see a smaller caliber this year that's going to make a 38mm case. I believe that's my call for this year. But to me, I like the 41. I think it does wear big. But at the end of the day, it's all about that design. It's very architectural, and I love it for it. Look at it. It's just something.
And I also think, being that little bit bigger, it's a watch that you should have your eyes drawn to because of how unique it is. So,
I agree.
So you need a bigger, because it's so thin, you need something to go, oh, look at it. You can see it across the ring.
Guys, we got 45 seconds. I bought this beautiful watch, again, from our friends at Watches of Knightsbridge. Thank you, Toby. This beautiful Cartier Paris, pre-CP 1990s, guilloche dial, yellow gold case. Look at the curvature on that. Does it get more elegant? And look at the buckle. I'm sorry. Don't even have time to pass it to you there, Pete Boy. I think these are going to go bonkers in the next few years. I was in on this for eight-ish. I was all in on this. This is something else. What else is there to say? Guilloche dial, Roman numerals. I think it works there. Yep, IWC, Mojave, completely polar opposite to this, but in some ways they work well. Ladies and gents, 10 seconds to say thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Yeah, let us know. Engraving. All this engraving stories. Anyone's got engraving stories.
Please let us know below. Yeah. Till next time. Goodbye.